Welcome back, everyone. Today I have an incredible HFI story for you. Commander Marcus Cole pulled a survivor from inside a black hole. Physics said it was impossible. She shouldn't exist. But Kira 7 is alive, and now she's bonded to him. Wherever he goes, she must follow. Otherwise, she fades from reality. He saved her from the void between stars, but she's about to save him from something far more dangerous, himself. This is I rescued her from a black hole. Let's begin. The rescue pod's hatch hissed open, and Commander Marcus Cole found himself staring at something that shouldn't exist. A Velith, barely adolescent by the silvery shimmer of her skin, lay curled in the emergency cocoon, her forearms wrapped protectively around herself, her luminous violet eyes blinking against the harsh light of his ship's cargo bay. "Medical, you're gonna want to see this," he said into his comm, his voice flat despite the impossibility before him. The Velith had been inside the event horizon. His ship's sensors had detected a faint life sign from within the accretion disk of Sagittarius Minor, a stellar mass black hole that had swallowed an entire Velith research station 3 days ago. Physics said nothing could survive that. Physics, apparently, was wrong. She made a sound, something between a whimper and a chime, and Marcus instinctively stepped back. He'd spent 15 years fighting the hegemony. He'd lost his entire squad on Tau Ceti IV. He'd watched his wife's transport get vaporized during the siege of Europa. He didn't do rescue missions. He didn't do survivors. Yet here he was. "Commander," Dr. Yuki Chen's voice crackled through. "Her biosigns are impossible. She's been exposed to tidal forces that should have spaghettified anything organic. How is she?" "I don't know, Doc. Just get down here." The Velith's eyes locked onto his. They were too intelligent, too aware for someone who'd been through what she had. Her mouth moved, but the translator implant in Marcus's ear produced only static. "Easy," he said, raising his hands. "You're safe now." She tilted her head, a gesture that seemed almost human, and then did something that made his blood freeze. He smiled. Not the grimace of fear or the rictus of shock. A genuine smile, as if she'd been waiting for him specifically. 3 hours later, Marcus stood in the med bay while Dr. Chen ran her 30th scan. "Her cellular structure has been reorganized," the doctor explained, her voice trembling with scientific excitement. "The black hole didn't destroy her, it changed her. Her species already has limited temporal perception abilities, but this—" She shook her head. "She's existing slightly out of phase with normal space-time. That's how she survived." "Can you fix her?" "Fix her?" Chen laughed, though it was hollow. "Commander, she's not broken. She's evolved. But there's a problem. Her phase state is unstable. Without a constant external reference point, something anchored firmly in normal spacetime, she'll eventually drift completely out of phase and cease to exist in our reality." Marcus felt the weight of what was coming before Chen said it. "She's imprinted on you, Commander. Your biosignature, your temporal presence, you're her anchor now. Wherever you go, she has to go. Otherwise she dies." The Velith, they'd learned her name was Kira 7, a junior researcher, watched him from the diagnostic bed. Her 4 hands folded in her lap, her posture rigid with what he now recognized as dignity, not fear. "I did not choose this," she said, her voice finally translating clearly. It was soft but steady. "I know what you are thinking, that I am a burden, an obligation you did not ask for. You're not wrong." Most people would have flinched at his bluntness. Kira 7 merely nodded. "Among my people, when someone saves another from the void between stars, a bond is formed. Not of gratitude, that would be insufficient, but of mutual debt. You saved my existence, therefore you have the right to my loyalty, but I saved myself long enough for you to find me, therefore I have the right to yours." Marcus stared at her. "That's not how humans think about rescue." "No, Dost." Her violet eyes seemed to glow brighter. "You think of it as heroism when it serves your narrative, and inconvenience when it does not. I am asking you to think of it as neither. Simply as, what happened?" He should have argued. Should have demanded Fleet Command reassign her to a science vessel, found some technological workaround, done anything except accept this strange creature into his life. Instead, he heard himself say, "Can you follow orders?" "I can follow reasonable ones, and argue against unreasonable ones until you see sense." Despite himself, despite everything, Marcus felt the corner of his mouth twitch. You might be the first honest person I've met in years. I doubt that, Kira 7 said. But I may be the first one you've allowed yourself to hear. The observation cut deeper than any weapon he'd faced. He turned and left the medbay without another word, but he didn't tell Chen to find an alternative. That night he approved the quarters reassignment that would put Kira 7 in the cabin adjacent to his own. Kira 7 is bound to Marcus now. His presence is the only thing keeping her anchored to reality. But this isn't just about survival. In the quiet moments between stars, two broken souls are beginning to recognize each other. She sees his nightmares. He sees her strength. And something unexpected is growing between them. The mission briefing was supposed to be routine. Recon sweep of the hegemony's forward positions near the Vega corridor. Standard 2-week patrol. Nothing that should have required a recently rescued alien with reality-bending cellular structure. She stays on the ship, Marcus said flatly, when Lieutenant Commander Reyes raised an eyebrow at Kira 7's presence in the briefing room. With respect, Commander, Kira 7 interjected, my phase perception allows me to detect hegemony stealth vessels up to 3 hours before they decloak. This is documented in the scientific literature. I can be useful. You're a civilian researcher. I was. Now I am something else. She paused. What would you call someone who exists between moments? Who sees the threads of probability before they weave into certainty? Reyes whistled low. Sounds like a tactical asset to me, sir. Marcus shot him a look that would have sent most subordinates scrambling. Reyes just shrugged. He'd served with Marcus for 8 years. He'd lost the capacity for fear around his commander, somewhere around their third near-death experience. Fine, Marcus said. But you stay in the CIC. No ground operations, no boarding actions, no being useful in ways that might endanger myself, and therefore endanger your conscience. Kira 7's tone was mild, but the observation landed like a precision strike. I understand. The first 3 days of patrol were uneventful. Kira 7 spent most of her time in the sensor suite, her 4 hands dancing across multiple interfaces simultaneously, her phase-shifted perception filtering data in ways the ship's AI couldn't match. She found 2 hegemony scout drones that had evaded standard detection, allowing the fleet to adjust their patrol routes accordingly. She also, Marcus noticed, barely slept. He found her in the observation deck on the 4th night, her silver skin reflecting the starlight in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Your species doesn't need sleep, he asked, settling into the seat across from her. We need it. I simply cannot achieve it. She didn't look at him. When I close my eyes, I see the event horizon. I feel myself stretching across infinite time. It is not restful. Nightmares. Is that what you call them? The memories that refuse to remain in the past? Now she turned, and her violet eyes held something he recognized. Something he saw in the mirror every morning. You have them too. It wasn't a question, so he didn't answer. But his silence was answer enough. On Tau Ceti the 4th, he said eventually. I lost my squad. 12 people I'd trained, fought with, trusted. The hegemony used a temporal weapon. Reversed local time by 6 hours, then let it snap forward. Everyone in the blast radius experienced their deaths, then was forced to live through the 6 hours leading up to them, knowing what was coming, unable to change it. But you survived. I was outside the radius, came back to find them all dead, but their faces. He stopped. Swallowed. They'd known. For 6 hours they'd known. Kira 7 was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly, she extended one of her smaller hands, the ones her species used for delicate work, for comfort, and let it hover near his arm without touching. May I? He should have said no. Touch was not something he allowed. Not anymore. He nodded. Her skin was cool, almost electric, and where she touched him, he felt something shift. Not in his mind, she wasn't telepathic. She'd explained that clearly, but in his perception. The weight he carried constantly, the crushing presence of those memories, felt momentarily lighter. I cannot take the pain, she said softly. But I can help you carry it. The phase space I exist in now, it touches all moments simultaneously, including the ones you wish you could forget. I cannot change them. But I can help you see that they are not all that exists. Marcus pulled his arm back. Not roughly, but deliberately. Why would you do that? You don't owe me anything. We have established that I owe you my existence, Commander. That's not. He stopped. Started again. That's not what I meant. Kira Seven's expression shifted into something almost amused. I know. That is precisely why I offer. Because you do not demand it. Because you expect nothing from me except competence in my duties. She folded all four hands in her lap. Among my people, bonds formed through rescue are often corrupted by obligation. The saved becomes a servant, the savior becomes a tyrant. But you have shown no interest in tyranny. You are too tired for it. Thanks, I think. It was a compliment. She turned back to the stars. I find your exhaustion refreshing. It makes you honest in ways that ambition never allows. They sat in silence for another hour, watching the stars wheel past. Neither slept. But somehow, both rested. The attack came on day 7. 3 hegemony destroyers decloaked simultaneously, their weapons already charging. The fleet's formation scattered, point defense systems lighting up the void with desperate fire. Kira! Marcus shouted across the ICI. Can you see their targeting solutions? Her eyes had gone completely violet, glowing with an intensity that made the bridge crew flinch. They are targeting the carrier Resolute. The attack is a feint. There is a 4th ship, phase-cloaked, moving to board your vessel. A 4th. Reyes's hands flew across his console. I'm not detecting anything. It exists 3 seconds in your future. You will detect it, now. The collision alarm screamed. A hegemony breaching pod materialized against the hull, already cutting through. Marcus was moving before the alarm finished its first cycle, but Kira Seven's voice stopped him. Commander, the boarding party carries temporal grenades, the same type used on Taucetia 4th. He felt his blood turn to ice. If they detonate on this ship, everyone aboard will experience what your squad experienced. Except me. She stood, her 4 hands clenched into fists. I exist outside their weapons' effect radius. I can stop them. No, absolutely not. You cannot stop me. Her voice was quiet but absolute. I'm already moving through the moments where you try. They all end with this ship destroyed and your crew dead. The only path where they survive is the one where I go. Kira. You saved me from the void, Marcus. It was the first time she'd used his name. Let me save you from yours. She was gone before he could respond, moving with a speed that shouldn't have been possible, her phase-shifted form blurring between seconds. The next 4 minutes were the longest of Marcus's life. He heard weapons fire through the internal comms. Screams, human and hegemony both. The peculiar whine of temporal grenades charging. Then silence. When the security team cut through the sealed corridor, they found 12 hegemony commandos dead, their temporal grenades crushed. And Kira 7 collapsed against a bulkhead, silver blood leaking from a wound in her side, her 4 hands still wrapped around the throat of the enemy commander. The grenades, she whispered when Marcus reached her. I moved them slightly out of phase. They could not detonate in a moment that does not fully exist. You're bleeding, you're not supposed to bleed. Even beings who exist between moments can be touched by the present. She smiled weakly. I believe this is what you call irony. He carried her to medbay himself, ignoring the damage reports flooding his comm, ignoring Reyes's requests for orders, ignoring everything except the too light weight of her in his arms and the fear. Genuine, unexpected fear. That she might not survive. Stay with me, he muttered. That's an order. Is it reasonable? No. It's the most unreasonable order I've ever given. Then I accept it. Her eyes fluttered closed. I told you I would argue against unreasonable orders. I did not say I would refuse them. The bond between Marcus and Kira has deepened into something neither expected. But the hegemony isn't finished. A massive dreadnought threatens Earth itself. The war that took everything from Marcus is about to demand one final sacrifice. And Kira 7 may be the only one who can end it. The recovery took 3 weeks. 3 weeks during which Marcus barely left the medbay, taking reports at Kira 7's bedside, making decisions with one eye always on the diagnostic readouts that tracked her phase stability. You are neglecting your duties, she observed on day 5. Her voice still weak, but her criticism sharp as ever. I'm delegating. You are hovering. There is a difference. You almost died. I have almost died several times now. Statistically, I am becoming quite good at it. She shifted, wincing as the movement pulled at her healing wound. But I notice you did not hover after the black hole. Only after this. He didn't have an answer for that. Or rather, he had an answer he wasn't ready to speak. Dr. Chen found him in the corridor later that night, her expression caught between professional concern and something more personal. "She's going to be fine," the doctor said. "Her phase state is actually stabilizing because of the injury. The trauma forced her cells to anchor more firmly in normal space-time. In another week, she'll be stronger than before." "That's good news." "It is, but I wanted to talk to you about something else." Chen hesitated. "The biosign anchor she has on you, it's not just one way anymore." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "When she was injured, your vitals spiked in ways that mirror hers. Not dramatically, you're not phase-shifting or anything, but there's a sympathetic resonance now. You feel what she feels, at least partially, and based on the readings." Chen shook her head. He felt it when she was fighting. The fear, the determination. The moment she decided she would die before letting those grenades detonate. "That's impossible, Commander. She survived a black hole." "I've stopped using that word." Chen placed a hand on his arm. "I'm telling you this because I think you need to understand what's happening. This bond isn't just about keeping her stable anymore. It's becoming something else. Something reciprocal." Marcus found Kira 7 awake when he returned, her violet eyes tracking him with an awareness that made him wonder how much she already knew. "Dr. Chen told you," she said. "Not a question. She told me we're linked now, both ways." "Yes." Kira 7 pushed herself into a sitting position, ignoring his gesture to stay down. "I felt it happen when I fought. I felt you, your fear, your rage, your desperate hope that I would survive. It was unexpected." "You didn't plan for that?" "Plan?" She made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Commander, I planned to die. The boarding party was too numerous, too well armed. The probability of survival was less than 3%. I accepted that." "Then why did you go?" "Because the probability of you surviving without my intervention was 0. And I discovered in that moment that a universe without you in it was not one I wished to exist in." Her voice was steady, but her 4 hands twisted in the sheets. "That is not a rational position. It is not what my training taught me, but it is what I felt." Marcus sat heavily in the chair beside her bed. "I've spent 15 years trying not to care about anyone. After Tassetti, after Elena, my wife, I decided that caring was a weakness I couldn't afford. That the mission had to come first, always, because if I let myself feel anything else, I'd break. And now a junior researcher half my age with 4 arms and a complete disregard for self-preservation has made me realize that I was already broken. I just hadn't admitted it." Kira 7 reached out with one of her smaller hands, the one she'd used that night on the observation deck, and this time Marcus didn't pull away. "Among my people," she said quietly, "there is a concept called Valkyra. It does not translate well, but the closest approximation would be the one who makes you want to exist tomorrow. It is considered the rarest of bonds, because it requires both parties to have lost their reason for living before finding it in each other." "Is that what this is?" "I do not know. But I know that before the black hole I was content to disappear into my research. After it, I was content to disappear entirely. And now?" She squeezed his hand with surprising strength. "Now I want to see what tomorrow brings, because you will be in it." The alert klaxon shattered the moment. Reyes' voice came through the comm, tight with controlled panic. "Commander, we've got a problem. The hegemony is mobilizing everything. They're heading for Earth." Kira used her phase abilities to destroy the dreadnought. The war is over. But the effort nearly killed her. Now Marcus holds her, begging her to stay. To survive. She rescued him from his grief. Now he must anchor her to existence one last time. The Battle of Earth would later be called the most decisive engagement of the war. 1,200 hegemony vessels against the combined might of humanity's fleet. Outnumbered 3-1, outgunned, and fighting above the world they could not afford to lose. Marcus's ship, the Vigilant, had been designated for a suicide mission. Someone had to take out the hegemony's command dreadnought, and someone had to get close enough to do it. The attack run would put them directly in the path of the enemy's heaviest fire, with no possibility of retreat. "You should transfer to another vessel," Marcus told Kira 7 as the fleet assembled for the final push. "Your phase perception could be valuable on—" "No, Kira." I said no. She stood beside him on the bridge, all 4 hands clasped behind her back, her posture military straight despite never having received a day of military training. Wherever you go, I go. We established this. That was about your survival. This is about yours. I know. Her eyes met his. I was not finished. Wherever you go, I go. Not because I must, but because I choose. Because Valkyra means accepting that your fate is my fate, and I accepted that when you accepted me onto this ship. Around them, the bridge crew tried to pretend they weren't listening. They failed. All hands, Marcus said finally, keying the ship-wide comm. This is Commander Cole. In approximately 20 minutes, we're going to do something extraordinarily stupid. Some of you have families waiting for you back home. Some of you have nothing but this ship and each other. Either way, I want you to know that it has been my honor to serve with you. He paused. And I want you to know that if anyone has a problem with my Velith advisor being on this bridge, they can take it up with her. She'll be the one keeping us alive long enough to complete our mission. A ripple of dark laughter moved through the crew. Then Ensign Park, the youngest member of the bridge team, spoke up. Sir, we've all seen what she did during the boarding action. If she's with us, we're with her. Murmurs of agreement followed. Kira Seven's four hands unclenched, and Marcus saw something in her eyes that looked remarkably like tears. Thank you, she said softly. The attack run was everything they'd feared and more. The Vigilant took hit after hit, shields failing, hull breaching, systems going dark one by one. But Kira 7 stood at the sensor station, her phase-shifted perception calling out enemy fire 3 seconds before it arrived, giving the helm just enough time to adjust, just enough margin to survive. They made it to within 500 kilometers of the dreadnought before the main drive gave out. We're dead in the water, Reyes reported, his voice hollow. Weapons are still online, but we can't close the distance. The torpedoes don't have enough range. Marcus stared at the view screen. The dreadnought filled it entirely, a mountain of metal and malice that was even now turning its main guns toward them. How long until they fire? 40 seconds, maybe 50. Not enough time to do anything. Not enough time to save anyone. Commander. Kira 7's voice cut through his despair. There may be a way. He turned. She was standing at the center of the bridge, her silver skin glowing brighter than he'd ever seen it, all four hands raised as if holding something invisible. My phase state allows me to exist between moments. I can extend that field, briefly, to encompass the torpedoes, send them through phase space to emerge inside the dreadnought's shields. The strain would kill you. Probably. She smiled, and it was the same smile she'd given him in that cargo bay, months ago, full of impossible knowing. But probably is not certainly. And I've discovered that I am quite good at surviving probably. Kira, no, I can't, I won't let you. She crossed the bridge in 3 strides and took his face in 2 of her hands. The other 2 she placed over his heart. Marcus, I told you once that you saved my existence. What I did not tell you is that you gave me a reason to want that existence. Her eyes were bright with something beyond phase light. Let me give you the same gift. Let me give you a tomorrow worth living for. It's not worth it if you're not in it. Then make sure I survive. She leaned close, her forehead touching his, a Velith gesture of absolute trust he'd learned, reserved only for Valkyra. Be my anchor, Commander, one last time. She pulled away before he could respond and raised her hands again. The air around her began to shimmer, ripple, tear. Fire the torpedoes. Reyes looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Kira 7. Then he gave the order. The torpedoes launched. And as they flew, Kira 7 screamed, a sound that wasn't entirely sound, that existed partially in frequencies human ears couldn't detect, and the weapons vanished into a tear in reality. Inside the dreadnought they reappeared. The explosion was visible from Earth. Kira 7 collapsed. Marcus caught her before she hit the deck, his own body trembling with sympathetic agony, the bond between them transmitting every ounce of her pain. Stay with me, he gasped. That's still an order. Still, unreasonable, she whispered. Her eyes were flickering, her phase state destabilizing. He could feel her slipping away, feel the bond between them stretching, thinning. Then argue with me. Come on, Kira, you love arguing with me. A ghost of a smile. I love many things about you. I know. He pressed his forehead to hers, mimicking her earlier gesture. I love you too, now stay, please, stay. For a long moment nothing happened. The bridge was silent except for the distant sounds of victory. The hegemony fleet breaking, running. The war that had consumed a generation finally ending. Then Kira 7 took a breath. And another. And opened her eyes. "You are still unreasonable," she said weakly. Marcus laughed. It was an unfamiliar sound, rusty from disuse, but genuine. "And you're still arguing? Must mean we're both still alive." "Apparently." She lifted one hand, trembling but present, and touched his cheek. "My face state has stabilized. The effort forced it to settle. I am anchored now. Truly anchored. Not just to you but to this reality." "Does that mean the bond is broken?" "No, too." Her violet eyes held his. "It means the bond is complete. I no longer need you to exist, but I choose to exist with you. That is what Valkyra truly means, Marcus. Not dependency, but choice. Not rescue, but recognition." She sat up with his help, looking out at the stars, at the blue marble of Earth finally free from shadow. "You rescued me from a black hole," she said softly. "Pulled me from a void that should have erased me from existence, but what you truly saved me from was the belief that my existence had no purpose." "And you?" She turned back to him, her 4 hands finding his 2. "You were lost in your own event horizon, Marcus. The gravity of your grief, your guilt, your determination to feel nothing. It was crushing you just as surely as any singularity. I simply showed you that escape was possible." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "We rescued each other. That is how the best bonds work." Around them, the crew erupted in cheers as confirmation came through. The war was over. Humanity had won. But Marcus barely heard them. He was focused on the weight against his shoulder, the cool touch of silver skin against his hands, the quiet certainty that he would never face tomorrow alone again. "So what happens now?" he asked. Kira 7 smiled. Now we discover what 2 people who saved each other do with the rest of their lives." She looked up at him. "I understand humans have a tradition called retirement. Perhaps you could show me what that involves." "It usually involves a lot of sitting around and being bored." "That sounds terrible. I suggest we do something else instead." "What did you have in mind?" Her smile widened. "The universe is very large, Commander, and I have spent my entire life studying it from a distance. Perhaps it is time to see it up close, together." Marcus looked out at the stars, the same stars he'd spent 15 years fighting under, bleeding under, losing everything under. For the first time they looked less like a battlefield and more like a beginning. Together, he agreed. And for the first time in 15 years, Marcus Cole looked forward to tomorrow. And so, 2 people who saved each other found their tomorrow. He pulled her from a black hole. She pulled him from the gravity of his own grief. Sometimes rescue isn't a single moment. It's a choice you make every day. To stay. To hope. To face the universe together. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like and subscribe for more HFI content. See you in the next one.